Oh my god. Stop eating the hat. Oh no, the Christmas hat. Ho, ho. No. It's nearly Christmas. The holiday season is hard for people struggling with alcohol. So this video is something like a Christmas survival guide for sobriety. This is my gift to you. Merry Crisis. This survival guide includes 14, roughly, actually usable tips for getting us through the holiday season sober. And if not sober, then at least without completely burning our lives down. For some of us, that's the best we can hope for. So, brothers, sisters, comrades and friends, I'm Sober Claus, and it's beginning to look a lot like Bat Country. No, give. Don't eat the hat. The dog ate the hat. So, plan B. You can't have these. Tip 1. Sleep. We actually don't understand sleep. We don't know what it is, and we don't really know how it works. All we know is that it is very good for us. And we know that it's good for sobriety in particular. Now, I go to bed no later than 10 p.m, and I'm up before 6 a.m. every single day. You think my sober life sounds boring? Well, if you can't have fun without drinking alcohol, you sound pretty fucking boring to me. During sleep, your brain is kind of defragmenting your mind, organizing your thoughts, and also removing the toxins from your body. And that all adds up to a feeling of focus and clarity while you're awake, and you wake up feeling refreshed and ready for the day ahead. You feel capable. But more importantly for sobriety, sleep decreases your urge to drink. Because when you don't sleep well, your craving for alcohol increases because your brain is seeking the dopamine to counteract like lethargy and fatigue. And that can manifest as an urge for alcohol, right? An urge for that dopamine fix. So good sleep reduces cravings. Science fact. And if you've ever recognized that your urges feel stronger in the evening and at night, that's why. Next, cut out friends. Christmas and the holidays are a time for gathering together, celebrating bonds, rekindling friendships and goodwill to all men. Unless to do so will threaten your sobriety. My own cycles of relapse, for example, often don't come at times of real stress or negative emotion. Sometimes they come when I'm happy. Right? Like times of celebration are a big risk for me. They also come at like times of crushing despair and depression like everyone else, but I'm also at risk when things are good. Times of celebration are kind of dangerous to me, and they might be to you too. And of course, there are old friends who they don't know that I was an alcoholic and that I've got sober, and they haven't seen me for years because I've been living abroad and all of that stuff. And they want to get together and relive what they think are the good old days. But my life has changed drastically. And what they tend to think of as the good old days I didn't realize it until long afterwards, but were really some of the worst days of my life. And I don't want to relive that. And sometimes that might mean having to cut the friends themselves out. They have to go. Get them out of your life, even if it is only for the period of Christmas. And the real good friends will gravitate towards you, and you'll make new ones and stuff. Next, negative visualization. This is a big one. This is a real genuine tool that I use day to day in sobriety. Negative visualization is one of the most effective long-term strategies I have in my sobriety toolkit, but it also works in a very short and immediate term. If you're familiar with the language of AA, they call it playing the tape out, or at least playing the tape out, that is, imagining the consequences of taking your first drink. That is a form of negative visualization. The version of playing the tape out that I use, I actually stole from Stoicism, from ancient Stoic philosophy. Called in the Roman version, it was called premeditatio malorum, which is the pretentious way of saying imagining all the bad shit before it happens. And it's like this. Every time you feel that tug on your sleeve, or you feel that, you hear that whisper, that whisper in your own voice, encouraging you that everything's going to be okay if you take a drink, everything's going to be fine this time, then you engage this process of negative visualization, and you do it very morbidly. I encourage you to make this as bad as it can be. So imagine the consequences of the first drink. Imagine the last relapse you had and how awful it made you feel. And imagine resting your head against the sink because you've been throwing up for the last half an hour. Imagine the feeling of being poisoned, but also make it worse. Okay, so imagine getting a DUI, but don't stop there. Imagine the reason you got the DUI is because you T-boned a car at an intersection, and in it was a family of parents and 2 young kids, and the parents are killed, and the kids are killed, but the parents survive. Okay, so be real specific with your scenarios and negative visualization, and allow yourself to feel the kind of grief that you would feel knowing that you had done that to somebody. I know it's morbid, but, well, it's so effective. If once you get good at it, once you set time aside to do it, it becomes second nature. And then it becomes less morbid and kind of like affirming. And imagine like losing the only job that would have you. And then imagine what that means to you. Losing that stocking. And imagine like then having to just live alone with no direction, and your hygiene getting worse and worse, and being afraid to answer the door for strangers and all of that stuff. And imagine the feel of handcuffs on your wrists and the way the cops twist them to apply extra pressure if you're being a dickhead. And if you imagine all of that and you still choose to drink and you still fuck things up, then there's the nuclear option. Imagine my big rubbery face looking at you in the eye and calling you a selfish prick. If that doesn't do it, nothing will. My face is your negative visualization. Oh yeah, so if any of this is connecting with you, if you find any of this kind of content useful at all, I really recommend that you head over to the Patreon, right? The Backcountry Patreon. Especially if you're thinking about getting sober very soon, or if you're struggling in early sobriety, or you want to tackle 2026 sober. There's a growing community of very passionate and very articulate sober people there who love talking about sobriety, so you might find it useful. Forgive me for doing a plug in the middle of this video, but I figured I'd better get it out of the way before I do the next tip, because this is where I might lose people. Okay, so the next tip for surviving Christmas sober is masturbation. Look, I've done a whole video about this. I did it last year for Christmas, and I reposted it a couple of months ago. So I'll leave the link in the description for my reasoning, and I won't labour the point right now. So I will say this. I know it's weird to have someone who looks like this encourage you to masturbate. But it's very good for combating the immediate urge to drink. Masturbation will just get rid of it. So as a very short term, immediate solution, it's very effective. And I've never heard any other sober person advocate for masturbation. So I guess it falls to me. I guess I'm the only person brave enough to do it. So there it is. Don't do it at the family Christmas dinner. Merry Gismas. Moving swiftly on. Next, journaling. Journaling is often the very first tool we're given in sobriety, or really any kind of mental health treatment. They encourage us to write stuff down. And I think some of us tell each other to do it because we don't really know what else to say. Just go away and write it down. You'll figure it out. And it can sound like shallow advice, but journaling is effective. And the reason it's recommended so early in mental health and addiction recovery is because of the way it works, what it does. Journaling is a process of decluttering your mind, right? It's about getting sticky thoughts out of your brain. That's what it is. It's a process of revealing your thoughts to yourself, understanding them as you put them down on paper. And for that reason, that's why journalism... That's why journaling works, is because it's a process of revealing your own thought patterns to yourself. It's also a process of kind of exorcising negative thoughts and emotions by working them out. As you commit them to paper, you kind of free them slightly. It's not completely, but just a little bit. It takes the pressure off. You don't even have to read them back for your journaling to work. For it to be effective, the process of just getting it out is the key part. However, if you are of such a mind to read them back, what you can often do is learn to spot your own triggers, your own, what's causing you to have an urge to drink, for example. So start today. Go and do it now. You're free to do it however you want. There's no rules. I do mine on an app. But you're free to go and sit in a park with a notepad like a spy. Next up is ghosting. I am a big advocate of ghosting in sobriety. Just get the fuck up and leave. Don't tell anyone, just go. Ghosting has been given a bit of a bad reputation because of its association with kind of shitty men in the dating scene who just disappear after they've got what they wanted. But here's the thing about ghosting. You are allowed to do it. There is no law about just getting up and leaving. There are no ghosting police. Ghosting busters? What I'm talking about is leaving a party before it's over, right? Leaving when it's starting to get a bit messy. Because big social events, they kind of suck for sober people. When everybody else is hammered, they kind of suck a little bit in general. It's not always. Sometimes going to events sober is better. In fact, with a bit of practice, it's always better. But certainly when everyone is getting hammered and you're in early sobriety and you're really struggling with it, those kinds of things can be a problem. We're generally, kind of just watching the clock the whole time. And it's not even really that we resent other people having drinks and having a good time or having more fun than us. That's not really the problem. The problem is that drunk people are fucking annoying. They lean on you and they spill their drinks on you and they have no understanding of personal space, and they talk over you and they ask questions that make no sense, and they're like toddlers, basically. Drunk people are like toddlers, right? They fall over and they cry at random. Very few reasonable adults want to spend an evening with toddlers. So leave. You're free to just get up and go. Protect your sober boundaries. Just get up, leave, go home alone, and masturbate. Study the Bible. Next up, lean on a sober community. My alcoholism was so extreme that it would have killed me if I had not accepted help at some point. If I had not swallowed my stupid, unearned pride and walked into AA. Alcoholism would have killed me. There is no ambiguity, no doubt. Alcoholism is always fatal, untreated. No exceptions. But I'm talking specifically about people who have never been before. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to noobs. And those struggling right now today as you watch this. If you've never been to AA, there is no better time to do it than now. So I am no longer a regular AA attendee. But that doesn't diminish the fact that it certainly helped when I really needed it to. It was there for me when I most needed it. And I'm eternally grateful that it exists and proud of myself for going that first day. I have no numbers in front of me. AA doesn't release membership. That's what the second A stands for. But I would bet my last €5 that attendance grows exponentially around Christmas. It's full of... in fact, I know it firsthand. The rooms are more full around Christmas because people need it more. And that means that when you go there, whatever your preconceptions of it are, you will see that it is full of people exactly like you, and that you don't really have a right to judge anybody for being there, because everybody who's there is there for the same reason. And I would say as well, every time I mention AA, I feel like I need to mention this, but if you're hesitating to go because of the God thing, you're going to be surprised when you turn up that virtually everybody else there was hesitating because of the God thing, and that they all still kind of wrestle with it or ignore it or have found ways to reconcile the God thing for themselves. And that's kind of my polite way of saying, like, choosing not to go to AA when you need to says more about you than going to AA does. And that's also a polite way of saying, if you're hesitating for some reason, you are making excuses not to go. Stop being a pussy. Next, have a schedule and stick to it. For the holidays, day by day, have at least a rough idea of what you're doing in that day and stick to it. My life in alcoholism was chaos. And chaos kind of begets chaos, right? So I was drawn to chaos, and because I was drawn to chaos, I also attracted chaos. Alcoholism is the mother of chaos, and to banish alcohol, you also need to banish chaos, because they are inextricable. They're kind of the same thing, two sides of the same coin. My life is chaos because I drink, and I drink because my life is chaos. But there's an equal and opposite side to that coin, right? I have structure because I am sober, and I am sober because I have structure. That's the flip side. So, write yourself a sobriety checklist, a kind of to-do list. Even set an alarm on your phone for each element, and stick to it until you don't need to stick to it anymore, until you don't need the alarms, until it's kind of natural. So what I'm talking about here is set an alarm for getting up, but then like 15 minutes afterwards, set an alarm for going outside and stretching. Get some air, get some sunlight. Even if it's freezing cold, even better. Enjoy the kind of discomfort of that cold shock. And then 15 minutes after that, just like throughout the day, plot it out. Give yourself like breathing exercises, all of these things. Put them in a timeline for the day and stick to it. Really do it. And if that sounds boring, if that sounds like it lacks spontaneity, good. It's the boring stuff that works. Discipline is the foundation on which sobriety is built. And if you're the kind of person who lacks discipline, and I mean, look at you, then structure and a schedule will begin to teach you that discipline. Next tip, gratitude. Gratitude is one of those things that we all say that we do, but none of us really do. We all just kind of pretend that we do it. No one sets time aside to feel grateful for things. We all just pretend that we do it. And pretending we're grateful, you know what? That's usually enough. Pretending to be grateful is usually enough to get us through day to day. But not at the holidays, when the pressure to drink and the risk of relapse are all so much more elevated. You have to do it for real. Through the holidays, just going through the motions of gratitude is not enough. You have to really dig deep and do it. So what is gratitude in the sense of sobriety? Well, it's more than just writing down in a notebook something that made you feel fleetingly, passingly grateful. And it's more than like a deep breath. Gratitude is about reframing negative thinking. Addiction and recovery from it comes with a lot of negative emotions like guilt and shame and remorse and self-loathing. That's all baked into addiction and the recovery process. Gratitude acknowledges that there is negativity in our lives, that it's not perfect. If it was perfect, We wouldn't feel the need to be grateful for things because everything would be perfect. And what it does, that process of acknowledging things to be grateful for, it reframes our thinking about the negative things into what's positive in our life, what's abundant in our lives. And even if it doesn't feel like there's much to be positive about, which is common around this time of year, which can really, for a lot of people, can be very isolating and very, very miserable. It might not feel like you have things to be positive about, but I would argue this. Even feeling bad about something is a miracle, right? Even having the capability to feel shitty is an absolute fluke of evolutionary biology that it is so unlikely that it forces you to think of it as a privilege, even a negative emotion. Just consider the pathway of the entire universe that led up to you, and how statistically unlikely that the atoms that form you right now, have coalesced to make you, and not only make you, but to make you here and now and conscious and able to acknowledge that you exist. The chances of it are so infinitesimally small that you even exist right here, right now, to feel shitty about existing. So be grateful for that. Just take a moment to feel a thing and be grateful for it. Anyway, so how does that knowledge benefit your sobriety over Christmas? Well, you have to practice gratitude actively. You can't just say that you're grateful for something. I have a journal. I don't do it very often anymore, but certainly in early sobriety and definitely around Christmas, I keep the journal close to put in it things that I'm grateful for. I pray to God that no one ever finds it. It is fucking bizarre. So from today onwards and throughout the holiday season, keep a notebook close and write down the things that you're grateful for. In fact, start every single day. Make it the first thing you do when you get up to pee. Look yourself in the mirror and think of a thing to be grateful for. In fact, let's do it. Fuck it. Let's start now. Let's get in the good habits early, right? Let's do it right now. I'm going to leave a pause of about 5 seconds. I want you I'm going to count you in, and I want you to say something that you're grateful for directly to me. Okay, you ready? What are you grateful for? 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's weird. Next one, don't drink. When you start to feel like you need a drink, don't. I know that requires some explanation. It's much easier said than done. I know better than most how difficult that is. And I know how empty don't drink can sound as advice. It's the kind of thing that non-alcoholics say to alcoholics. Well, why can't you just not drink? Have you thought about not drinking? Have you tried mindfulness? In fact, I had to build my entire life around not drinking, just to not drink. That's how difficult it is to not drink. But just because it's easier said than done, doesn't mean that we shouldn't say it. It shouldn't go unsaid in sobriety advice that one of the big things that you have to do to stay sober is to not put the fucking stuff in your mouth. In all the noise and the confusing and conflicting advice of sobriety, where everybody is always saying things like smoke weed or don't smoke weed or try hallucinogenics or start practicing to run a marathon or climb a mountain or go outside, study ancient Taoism. Sometimes the most important message can get drowned out, and that most important message is don't drink. In fact, just do literally anything else. Anything that's not drinking alcohol, do that instead. Now, this particular advice is really, really the last line of defense. If I'm saying don't drink, then you know things have got bad. But still, it's the thought that you need. This is the thought that needs to be in your head. It's the one that you pull out when you're at the shelf in the shop. Don't drink. It is the one when you're at the brink of making that terrible decision. This is the one that you need to recall. Say it out loud if you have to. And when it works, say it again tomorrow. And then say it the next day. And keep saying it every time you need to. Don't drink until one day you realise that suddenly you've got 30 days. Or then you've got 60. And then you don't quite need to tell yourself that anymore. And you can explore more sophisticated sobriety strategies. But for now, to get you through the holidays, don't put it in your mouth. Next up, lie to people. Your goal this Christmas is to stay sober. That is the be-all and end-all. That is the intention. You must survive one day at a time, and you must do whatever it takes to accomplish that. Everything else is secondary. And sometimes you have to go to extraordinary lengths to put your own sobriety first. And in this case, it might mean lying to people. Little lies can help make the process of staying sober just a little bit easier for you. And you need to take every advantage you can get. And as much as I believe that radical honesty and bracing truth are key to long-term sobriety, you have to get to long-term sobriety in order to do that stuff. To start with, a well-placed lie can dig you out of a dangerous situation. And the lies I'm talking about are just very simple ones designed to alleviate the pressure on you through the holidays. Not great big lies like you're dying and you want to spend the rest of your life sober. Wow, just hearing myself say that is not a lie, is it? Anyway, look, they can include more classic lies, like white lies, like I'm taking medication so I can't drink, or I'm driving tonight, or I have an early morning, or I've already had 20 shots of Sambuca. If I have another one, my heart will explode. Simple lies. That last one's quite good, because it also makes you look cool. These lies, they just buy you time. They create a bit of space for yourself. And if you want, you can be creative with it. You can try a backcountry special, like I have taken a vow of abstinence until my brother is released from that secret CIA prison in the Gobi Desert. That kind of thing. Next, say no to things. Say no to spontaneity. This is kind of related a little bit to cutting out friends and also bringing structure and scheduling into your life. But saying no to spontaneous stuff. Look, spontaneous events and celebrations are a risk for us. They always will be. But there's so many more of them, so many more opportunities for failure around Christmas. And when we tell people that, look, real talk, when sober people like me tell struggling people that sometimes sobriety comes with sacrifice, this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. You actually have to sacrifice things sometimes to protect your sobriety. You don't get to just say that you're making sacrifices. Sometimes you really have to do it. Because the quitting the alcohol thing, like the no more alcohol, that's not the sacrifice. The real sacrifice comes from saying no to opportunities. That's where we, as sober people, sacrifice. The alcohol is just a fluid. You sacrifice nothing by not putting that in your body. You don't lose anything. What we lose is a little bit of socializing and crazy and reckless opportunities. That is our sacrifice. Be okay with it. Say no to opportunities. And also, you know what, while I'm thinking about it, I'll add this. If you're a social alcoholic, if you're the biggest drinker in the room and you're trying to quit, there's a good chance that you're getting invited to a lot of stuff throughout the festive period, right? There's a lot of Facebook notifications and WhatsApp group messages, all encouraging you to go out and get shit-faced with a group of friends. I've got some bad news for you. But you're probably not as popular as you think you are. There's a very good chance that you get invited to things to make other people feel better about their own drinking. That might be your social role. I guarantee that you don't feel like it is. I guarantee that you feel like you are the funniest one in the room and all your friends like you because you're good company and you're charismatic. I can almost with 100% certainty assure you that your friends like you because they can point to you and say, at least I'm not as bad as that guy. They like you because you're messy. You make them feel better about their drinking. So say no and just ride the FOMO. Just get used to the FOMO. That is your sacrifice in sobriety. And it's more important at Christmas than ever. And instead of feeling FOMO, learn to enjoy Josh, the joy of staying home. Next up, exercise. Everybody's favourite thing to say in sobriety communities. Look, you've got to move your big dumb body. That's what it comes down to. You don't have to commit to a barefoot marathon every day. You don't have to train your finger strength to become a professional mountain climber. That's not necessary, but you do need some exercise of some kind. A brisk walk or a gym visit, whatever you have available to you, make use of it. And if you don't have a gym, well, do you have a floor, motherfucker? Do some press-ups, do some squats. Yoga, Pilates, whatever it is that you need, calisthenics. Do a thing that stops you from doing nothing. Because our greatest enemy in early sobriety is unstructured time. Exercise is the best way to fill that time. Next, good drinks. A nice, simple, usable one. These days, the shops are absolutely jam-packed with non-alcoholic drinks, like really good ones. And that's year-round, it's not just at Christmas. But that doesn't have to mean that you have to be drinking non-alcoholic versions of alcoholic drinks. You don't have to be going for non-alcoholic beer or mocktails. In fact, my personal favourite is San Pellegrino lemonade. That is the best non-alcoholic drink, and it's just a normal soft drink. It's not a no-low drink. It's just a soft drink. But I like things that have a bit of bite to them, like a little bit of spice, a little bit of kick, like, ginger, like really good bitter ginger beers and bitter lemonades. Something that makes you feel like you're drinking something is going into your body. And that can help, scratch that itch a little bit. I would also advise this. Keep a drink in your hand, like a non-alcoholic drink in your hand at all times, at every social event. Always have something in your hand, because that will stop people offering you alcoholic drinks. Okay, so that will do for today. If any of this has been of any use to you at all, first, subscribe here on YouTube. Next, go and visit the Patreon and see if that's a community that you might like to join. And next, add your own tips and comments in the comments. So if you have useful short-term sobriety tips, put them in the comments below and I'll do a follow-up video nearer to Christmas with some of the best that are left in the comments. As always, thank you for watching and Merry Crisis.